I now release the worn-out version of myself, the false self, built on fear, doubt, and limitation, falls away like dry leaves in the autumn wind. That self has served its purpose, but it no longer holds power over me. I die daily to the old thoughts, the old beliefs, the old reactions. For unless the seed falls into the ground and dies, it cannot bring forth life. I am reborn now in the image of my highest truth. I am made new by the power of divine mind. Every word I speak aligns with truth. Every thought I hold is filled with light. I am no longer who I was. I am becoming who I truly am. The old self has died, and I do not mourn it, for I rise now into the fullness of my destiny. I walk by faith, not by sight. I claim my divine inheritance. The gates of limitation fall behind me, and I step into freedom. I now declare the new me rises with courage, with clarity, with divine power. It is done. It is sealed, is the law. Nothing new can enter a vessel already full. The self must be emptied of fear, pride, and old wounds before truth may pour in. I release the lesser to receive the greater. I no longer cling to old versions of myself that were shaped by fear, taught by limitation, or fueled by the need to please or prove. That version of me was survival. That version was built in response to wounds, not wisdom. And now, I see with divine eyes that it is time to let it go. The law of renewal demands surrender. I cannot hold tightly to the past and still reach for the future. So I stand here, in the sacred space between who I was and who I am becoming, and I make the choice to let the old self fall away. It is not with anger or shame that I release her, but with gratitude. She did the best she could with what she knew. She fought, she struggled, she protected me. But now I am done fighting. I am done hiding behind pain. I am done shrinking myself to fit into stories that were never mine to begin with. I am not bound by yesterday's identity. The law of the universe is progress, and progress cannot happen if I'm clinging to old narratives. I no longer define myself by my trauma, my mistakes, or the opinions of others. That version of me was simply a layer, and now it peels away with grace. I speak truth over myself now. I am whole. I am guided. And as I declare this, the old begins to fall like autumn leaves that once served their season. There is divine timing in death. The seed cannot grow until it first breaks. I too must break, but not to fall apart, rather to break open. I surrender the illusion that I must always be strong, always be right, always be perfect. I allow the divine to dismantle the structures within me that were built on fear. The old self says, "What if I fail?" The new self whispers, "What if this is the moment I fly?" I choose flight. As I release, I feel the space being made, emotional space, mental space, spiritual space, and I do not rush to fill it with noise or distraction. I let it breathe. For in the stillness, I feel the new version of me rising, not from effort, but from alignment. This is not something I build by force. This is something I allow. The more I let go, the more I remember. I am not here to become something. I am here to return to who I've always been under the masks and roles and fears. Everything I need is already within me, the clarity, the calling. And as I shed what is false, I begin to live from what is true. There is no longer a war within me. There is only peace. I do not resist this transformation. I welcome it like the sunrise. I trust that the divine plan is unfolding, and I do not need to understand it all to walk in faith. My only task is to obey the call, to follow the inner nudge that says, "This chapter is over. It's time to rise." I no longer fear what I will lose. I honor what I will gain. And even more, I honor what will be revealed. Because what rises in me now is not a copy of who I used to be, but a reflection of who I was always meant to be. The death of the old self is not loss. It is liberation. Like a snake shedding its skin, I grow by letting go. That which no longer serves me dissolves by divine law. I no longer see endings as punishment. I see them as sacred doors. Doors that lead to the version of me I prayed for. Even when I didn't know how to say the words, I let go of resistance. I release the tight grip I held over familiar pain. I step forward now, not because I am unafraid, but because I am aligned. The old self doesn't die in silence. It fights. It pulls, it whispers with urgency. "Don't change. You'll lose everything." But I know that voice now. It is not divine. It is fear wearing the mask of comfort. And I am no longer available for comfort that costs me my calling. I am no longer available for safety that keeps me small. So I breathe in truth, and I exhale what no longer belongs. I honor the discomfort because it tells me something sacred is happening. The caterpillar does not mourn the cocoon. It surrenders to it, because within that darkness, the miracle of becoming begins. I too have entered a cocoon of transformation. I do not need to rush. I do not need to force. I am not late. I am exactly where I need be for the old to release and the new to emerge. The breakdown is divine. The silence is sacred. The undoing is holy. I am done begging to be understood by those who only knew the expired version of me. I do not need to explain why I am no longer available for things that drain my soul. I am allowed to evolve. I am allowed to protect my peace. I am allowed to honor what I've outgrown. I let the old self fall away with love, not regret, because it was only ever temporary. That identity, those habits, those attachments, they were a bridge, not a home. Every fear that rises now is an echo, not a prophecy. I no longer chase what doesn't choose me. I no longer perform for approval. I rest in the knowing that what's meant for me moves toward me as I move toward truth. The more I let go, the lighter I become. My spirit expands. My heart reopens. I return to a deeper trust in life. And from that place, all that is mine begins to flow with ease. There is no loss in the divine plan, only redirection. I trust that the people who fade, the roles that fall away, the versions of me that no longer fit are making space for something higher. I don't chase what crumbles. I stand in the ruins and watch as beauty rises from what once broke me. The death of the old self is not the end. It is the beginning of something sacred, something real, something mine. And as I rise, I do not carry the weight of who I was. I move with light. I move with truth. I move with power. I no longer fight my own becoming. I partner with it. I co-create with the divine. And in that partnership, I realize I am not being punished. I am being prepared. Every closed door, every painful goodbye, every moment of shedding was the path back to my power. I am not who I used to be. I am not yet who I will become, but I am right here, aware, aligned. I am held by divine hands. I walk forward, not alone, but guided by something greater, something within me that has never died, only waited to be remembered. ChatGPT said I no longer identify with struggle, shame, or stories of lack. They are but shadows of a version of me that no longer exists. I now walk in light, free from the chains of yesterday. I do not need to carry the memory of pain like a badge. I do not need to keep rehearsing the moments that broke me. The past may have shaped me, but it does not define me. I rise above the old narrative now. The one that told me I was unworthy. The one that told me I was too late. The one that whispered I wasn't enough. I release it all into the hands of the divine. I was never meant to live in cycles of self-sabotage. I was never created to shrink, to silence myself, to second-guess the fire within me. That was the voice of fear. That was the voice of the world. But now, I listen to the truth, the still, strong voice that comes from within. The voice that says you are chosen, you are powerful, you are free. And as I begin to believe that voice, everything begins to shift. I no longer need to prove my worth through suffering. I no longer need to earn my rest or justify my peace. I'm not broken. I am not behind. I am whole, and I always was. The illusion of lack was a test of vision. It asked me, will you still believe even when you can't yet see? And I did. I held on through the darkness, and now the light finds me ready. I strip away the layers I wore to survive, people-pleasing, perfectionism, pretending. I no longer wear masks to be accepted. I no longer perform to feel loved. I allow my real self to rise, even if she is messy, even if she is different, even if she disrupts the version of me that others were comfortable with. I choose truth over approval. I choose alignment over attachment. I choose myself without guilt. There is nothing noble about self-abandonment. I do not lose myself to keep others. I do not quiet my spirit to make others comfortable. That was the old me, the one who needed validation to feel seen. But now I validate myself. I speak life over myself. I honor my own needs, my own voice, my own knowing. I no longer wait for permission to take up space. I am here on purpose, And in this space of truth, everything begins to unlock. Peace becomes my home, not my vacation. Joy becomes my rhythm, not a rare guest. Abundance flows to me because I finally believe I am worthy of receiving. I let go of the old belief that things must be hard to be valuable. I let go of the mindset that I must struggle to prove I deserve good things. I rewrite the code in my soul now. I believe that ease is holy. That peace is powerful. That joy is a divine assignment. And because I believe it, I begin to live it. Not just in moments, but in my entire being. I no longer fight for my place in the world. I take my place. I stand tall, not from arrogance, but from awareness. Awareness that I am divinely made and divinely supported. Everything I need is drawn to me with grace. I no longer chase, I attract. I no longer beg, I align. I no longer hustle to be chosen. I choose myself first, and the rest follows. What once felt heavy now feels light. What once felt impossible now feels inevitable. Because I no longer carry the weight of who I used to be. I rise now into who I truly am. I am not the name I was given, nor the mistakes I made. I am spirit in expression, whole, wise, and powerful. As the old identity falls, my true self is revealed. I am not here to become someone new. I am here to remember the soul I've always been. The masks I wore were never mine. The roles I played were survival. The noise I absorbed was never the voice of truth. Now, as I quiet the world, I begin to hear the deeper voice within. It does not shout. It does not beg. It simply speaks, you were never lost. Only covered. I no longer search for myself in external things. Not in titles, not in relationships, not in achievements. I have looked outward long enough, and now I turn inward where the real treasure is. I discover that my worth was never tied to what I could produce, fix, or prove. I do not have to earn my place in this world. I am the place. I am the temple of spirit. I am the breath of divine intelligence made visible. There is power in returning. Returning to the self that was never confused, never afraid, never ashamed. The self that always knew she was connected to something infinite. That part of me is awakening again. Slowly, gently, like the sun rising behind clouds. It doesn't demand attention. It simply shines. And so do I. I shine without effort. I shine without seeking. I shine because light is my nature, not my performance. I allow the divine blueprint within me to unfold. I no longer chase purpose, I become it. I live it in every breath, every choice, every word. I am not in competition with anyone. There is no race, there is only resonance. And what is mine, by divine right, can never miss me. So I walk with ease, with assurance, with sacred authority. I walk as one who knows I am not becoming. I am revealing. With every layer I shed, my essence becomes clearer. The voice of my intuition grows louder. The visions of my future feel closer. I stop resisting the call to rise. I stop questioning the path that's calling me forward. I no longer ask, am I ready? I simply answer, yes. I answer with my presence. I answer with my trust. I answer with my becoming. The old self needed validation. The true self is rooted in truth. The old self sought control. The true self walks in surrender. The old self feared change. The true self was made for it. So I flow with the current of my soul now. I release control, not from weakness, but from wisdom. I trust the unfolding of my path, even when it leads through unfamiliar places. I do not fear the unknown anymore. Because I finally understand I am the known. I am not a stranger to myself. I am home. I move forward not with doubt, but with devotion. Devotion to the highest within me. Devotion to the vision I hold in my heart. Devotion to the calling I feel in my bones. It is not ego. It is essence. It is not ambition. It is assignment. And from this place of remembering, I stop asking for the world to see me. I start seeing myself clearly, fully, powerfully. I stand in that seeing, and I speak from that truth. I no longer wait for the world to reflect my worth. I reflect it to the world. I no longer look for light. I am the light. I no longer pray for power. I recognize that I am the expression of divine power itself. Just as gold is refined by fire, I too must pass through trials to be purified. I do not fear the fire anymore. I welcome it, not because I enjoy the heat, but because I understand its purpose. The fire does not come to destroy me. It comes to dissolve everything that is not truly me. I surrender to the process. I do not resist what's meant to shape me. the struggle, the stretch, the breaking. It all carries sacred intention. I trust the pressure, for pressure is the birthplace of strength. I am no longer asking, why is this happening to me? I now ask, what is this revealing in me? The fire exposes what was buried. It burns away the illusions, the false identities, the limiting beliefs, the need for control. And as it does, what remains is truth. What remains is clarity. What remains is power that cannot be shaken. I have walked through fire, and yet I am not consumed. I am refined. I am radiant. Pain is not punishment. It is passage. It is the way my soul expands into its next level. So I hold my pain with reverence. I do not numb it. I do not run from it. I meet it with open hands and an open heart, because I know that in the discomfort, something sacred is awakening. Each time I've been brought to my knees, I was being positioned for revelation. Each loss, each betrayal, each breakdown was not a detour. It was the path itself. There is beauty in this breaking, a holy beauty that can only be found when everything else is stripped away. I am not ashamed of my scars. They are proof that I survived the fire, and even more. They are proof that I was transformed by it. I now see pain as a messenger, not an enemy. It comes to show me where I'm still holding on to what must be released. And when I release it, I rise lighter. I no longer avoid hard things. I face them with faith, because my faith is no longer an idea. It is a fire within me. It doesn't flicker with circumstances. It doesn't bend under pressure. It burns steady. Even when everything outside of me shakes, I remain rooted. Because I know who I am forged by fire, shaped by grace, and carried by the divine. I don't ask the fire to end before its time. I ask to be made ready for what's on the other side of it. Because I know there is more waiting for me. More peace, more power, more purpose. And I will not reach for my next level with the hands of my old self. I let the fire clean me. I let the fire prepare me. I let the fire call forth the version of me who was hidden beneath the ashes. I stop resisting what's stretching me. I understand now that growth does not come wrapped in comfort. It comes dressed as challenge. It arrives with disruption, and I welcome it with a full heart, knowing that what's being torn down is making space for what's being built up. I may not see the full picture yet, but I trust the divine architecture of my life. Every trial has a timeline. Every fire has a finish, and I walk through it not alone, but accompanied by the strength of spirit. Even when it hurts, I stay open. Even when I feel lost, I remember I am not being buried, I am being planted. I am the seed breaking open, reaching toward the light. I am the soul being stretched so that I may carry the blessing I've asked for, and with every step through the fire, I rise stronger. Not harder, but softer, not bitter, but wiser. I am not the same, and I was never meant to be. From the ashes of who I was, a higher version of me is born. I no longer resist the rebirth. I surrender to it with reverence, because I know that all that was burned away was never truly mine. The doubts, the masks, the fears, they were borrowed illusions, but what rises now is truth. What rises now is essence. I no longer crawl through life burdened by who I used to be. I soar, light, bold, and unafraid to be fully seen. There is no shame in rising. There is no guilt in growing. I release the silent contracts I made with limitation. I no longer apologize for my evolution. I do not owe anyone the older version of me. She served her purpose. She survived the storms I prayed would pass. But I'm not surviving anymore. I'm living. I'm breathing with intention. I am expanding with clarity. I rise, not to prove but to embody, not to perform but to align. I honor this rebirth. I hold it sacred. Because I know what it cost. I know the nights I cried in silence, the moments I doubted my own light, the times I wanted to quit but kept walking. All of it, every scar and setback brought me here. And here is holy. Here is enough. Here is the foundation of something eternal. I build from this place now. Not from lack, not from fear, but from knowing. The new me walks differently. She no longer seeks what drains her. She no longer chases what is not aligned. She no longer clings to what doesn't honor her growth. I move with purpose now. I speak with power now. I say yes only where my soul is at peace, and I say no without guilt or explanation. My energy is sacred. My time is divine. I am no longer available for anything that disrupts my inner harmony. This rising is not loud. It's rooted. It is not about being seen, it's about being sovereign. I no longer need outside applause to validate my path. I walk in quiet confidence, knowing that what is aligned will find me, and what is not will fall away. I trust the flow. I trust the process. I trust the timing. Everything that belongs to the version of me I am now rising into is already moving toward me. I attract what I am prepared to hold, and I am prepared for more. I give myself permission to expand beyond the stories I was told. I am not too much, I am not too late, I am not unworthy, I am not forgotten. I am rising because I was always meant to. It is my natural state. It is the divine rhythm of life, to evolve, to elevate, to emerge new again. And this time, I don't shrink when the light touches me. I open, I shine. I allow the fullness of who I am to take up space. I no longer carry the weight of proving. I carry the presence of becoming. Every step I take now is intentional. Every decision is aligned. I do not rush. I do not chase. I magnetize. I receive. I co-create with spirit in complete trust. I do not ask if I'm worthy. I know I am. I do not ask if it's possible. I know it's already done in the spiritual realm. I walk as though it's already mine, because energetically, it is. There is nothing small about me anymore. I've broken out of the old shell, and I refuse to return. The new me is expansive. The new me is authentic. The new me is unshakable. I do not resist the spotlight that life is shining upon me. I step into it, not with ego, but with gratitude. I've been refined. I've been tested, and I've been chosen to rise. So I rise, fully, unapologetically, permanently. I now close the chapter of who I was. That self has served, struggled, and surrendered. She is complete. I bless her, I release her, and I walk forward renewed. Every cell of my being now vibrates with divine truth. I rise not by effort, but by spiritual law. I am no longer becoming I am. I am aligned. I am powerful. I am free. What is mine comes with ease. What is meant for me cannot be missed. What I seek is seeking me, by divine right and perfect timing. I do not chase, I attract. I do not strive, I allow. I do not fear, I know. The old has fallen. The new is risen. It is done. It is sealed. It is the law.